Hi, I'm Terry and I'm nuts about stamping. I'm back today with another Sundays with Sizzix project. I'm going to create a special graduation card for somebody that I work with. She has worked long and hard to get her MBA and graduated yesterday. So this card is just for her. My card base is going to be very vanilla. I've cut it 8.5 by 5.5 and scored it on the 4 1/4 mark. There we go. So that it's going to be this way, a portrait layout. And I'm going to start off by using my Big Shot to die cut a phrase for the front of the card. I'm going to use the Congrats to You. I've mounted it on a clear block already. And I'm going to ink it up using Calypso Coral ink. It's one of the colors that I'm using that matches the Designer Series paper. So I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to turn it this way, stamp it down. And then I have chosen 2 of the Floral framelits, and I'm going to die cut those out to be a layer on the front of my card. So when you use framelits, you use your magnetic platform, bottom standard cutting pad. I'm going to put 2 pieces of cardstock on here. I'm going to put my phrase and then I'm going to layer it onto a larger oval, old olive flower. I'm just going to angle this like so. And then I'm going to put on my top standard cutting pad, hold it down in place and run it through the Big Shot. And I've got my phrase and I've got my layer. Set those aside for now. Now, before I adhere these 2 together, I'd like to age them a little bit. I want this card to have kind of like a rustic feel. So to do that, I'm going to bring in my crumb cake, and I've taken one of my Stampin' Sponges and I've cut it into, I don't know, 1/8 maybe. And I'm just going to rub a little bit of the crumb cake around the outside of each of the flowers to give them sort of a rustic or an aged feel. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can do as dark or as light as you want. I would suggest you start with light, so just touch it briefly, and then you can add more color if you decide you want it to be a bit darker. All right, then I'm going to adhere these together. Like so, and that's going to be a layer for the front of my card. So let me bring in my card base. And then I have a piece of Pretty Petals Designer Series paper. I'm going to use it on this side. And I have some strips of, 2 strips of Pretty Petals, and then 2 strips of Calypso Coral. So I'm pulling these all together with my colors. And the first thing I'm going to do is adhere these 2 thin strips of Pretty Petals to the front of my card. That's my first strip. Second strip, like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my sponge and my crumb cake, and I'm going to age all around the front of the card as well. I could do it on the inside. I might choose to do that later. Go. Like so. I'm going to set that aside. The next thing I'm going to do is take this piece of Pretty Petals, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to layer it so that a little bit of the Calypso coral is showing through on each side. Try and get it to be the same amount. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to age around the outside. I'll have all of the dimensions for the cardstock and the designer series paper layers over on my blog afterwards. And then I'll also include a photo of the inside of the card so you can see how I decorate that as well. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now, before I adhere this to the front of the card, I'm going to bring in some Whisper White Baker's Twine, and I'm going to add a few strips just to add some interest. So I adhere my Baker's Twine to my card by putting some tear and tape adhesive on the back, and that helps it hold the Baker's Twine in place. Okay, so I'm going to start my strip, or there we go, and I'm going to wrap 4 times. Then I'm going to cut it off and adhere it down. And then what I can do is adjust it how I'd like it to be on the front of the card. Okay, I think I like it like that. And then I'm going to add some snail adhesive. I'm going to bring in my card. There we go, just like that. And then to complete my card, I'm going to add 2 more details. I'm going to put the congrats to you, and I'm going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. 3 Stampin' Dimensionals. Whoop. Like so. And then one final touch. Before the video began, I took 4 10-inch pieces of my Whisper White Baker's Twine, and I made them into a bow, and I'm going to use my mini glue dots to attach it. Just not sure. I think maybe I'll put it at the bottom. So I'm going to use 1 mini glue dot, pull it off, and then I will add it to my card to complete it. Now, if you wanted to match perfectly, we do have Old Olive Baker's Twine. Mine is in transit right now, so I'm going to use what I have, which is the Whisper White, but you could use the Old Olive for maybe a more subtle touch. And there we go. A beautiful graduation card that I made especially for a close friend. For a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurement for the cardstock layers, hop on over to my blog, www.nutsaboutsstamping.com. While on my blog, make sure you subscribe to my customer newsletters. I send a newsletter each week with a special project that you won't see anywhere else. You can also click on the Shop Now button on my blog to purchase the supplies that I used to make this card. Keep in mind that the Pretty Petals Designer Series paper stack will be retiring at the end of May, and it's available only as supplies last. So if you love this paper stack as much as I do, please place your order soon so you won't be disappointed. I'm Terry. I'm nuts about stamping. See you next time. Bye for now.